Hello, we are live here. Well, I'm not live, but Brett certainly is in Washington, D.C. for the inaugural coverage of our new president elect, Donald Trump. Brett Stewart is there. Brett, how are you doing? What's going on?
I'm doing very well. How are you, Carrie?
Oh, I'm doing good. You got me up this morning for this, so hey.
Yeah, exactly. I have been up since 3 a.m. We left the hotel at 4 and got on the metro. We are slightly north of the Capitol, and we came down on the metro this morning. And I was in a place called DuPont Circle this morning for about 3 hours. DuPont Circle is north of the Capitol, north of the White House. And that was where the 420 protest was getting kicked off. It was the hashtag 420 Trump protest, where they were giving out 4,200 blunts, which is legal here as long as you are not on district property. Even though it looks like most of them will probably end up on district property, but I don't think the district cares. I talked to a couple security guards down there and a couple, FBI agents, and the FBI isn't overly concerned with them. They have bigger fish to fry today, and that's actually the phrase the FBI agent used with me. So, but essentially what they were down there for was the promotion of the legalization of marijuana on a national level, not just on a state level. And also they were protesting Jeff Sessions, the Attorney General, who has previously made statements such as people who smoke marijuana are bad people, and a number of other anti-drug themes, because essentially what one protester said to me was he compared it to prohibition. He said in the 1920s, people like Sessions talked about alcohol the way many people talk about marijuana today. And that's something they want to see changed. And they handed out, again, 4,200. I believe there was more than that because they just kept rolling.
Literally, but don't pump.
really, seriously, it was quite the event. And no joke, we were standing, me and another reporter, we're standing on DuPont Circle waiting for this to happen because they're late to their own protest, which is so quintessentially pot.
Yeah, they probably slept in and needed snacks.
Exactly. Well, they showed up and they put up these big giant tents, and then the megaphone came on and they said, "Come get your weed." And just a wave, just like an animalistic wave of intensity, as just people were hopping over park benches and running to get their free pot. And talked to a bunch of them down there. A lot of them just wanted to get their free weed and leave. A lot of them genuinely believed in their cause. And then I had a couple people, for example, a woman was down there in support of her daughter who passed away in a house fire last year. And her daughter was someone who had lobbied heavily at the national level for the legalization of marijuana. She had a big giant poster, not even a poster, like a flag. And her goal was to get that flag completely covered front and back with signatures. That's something her daughter always wanted to do. And of course, she's not able to do that anymore. So her mom is representing her today to go get those signatures for her. So right now, before we get into some questions from both the Blazing Caribou staff and any listeners, I'm at the Washington Monument. It is relatively peaceful here. For the most part, all of the crowds are trying to inch closer and closer to the Capitol, which of course is 1.5 miles east beyond the monument. Now, I'll turn my camera here a little bit, and you can see these giant crowds are down there. And then I'm going to turn my camera once more down toward Lincoln, and you can see there's about a line down there that's about 3.5 miles long.
Oh, neat.
That is people trying to get in. Now, quite frankly, I think they should probably all just leave the line because Trump speaks in an hour, so they're never going to get in. But right now, it looks like Trump's going to schedule to speak at noon, and I'm out here. I have my press passes, both for Blazing Caribou, for the Columbia Chronicle, and the Our Political Essay. And they've given me I get some access, like the cops are a little bit more nice with me and nice with my equipment. I should give a shout out to the TSA because the TSA did a phenomenal job with the checks on the way in here.
Oh, nice.
They really checked my bag thoroughly, and I really appreciate that because they're doing their jobs well. And it looks like to me, it's gonna get slightly more crowded within here. But Trump is only scheduled to speak for about 20 minutes. AP reported that he might have one of the shortest inaugural addresses ever, less than 20 minutes, which is in comparison to Obama's, which was about 45.
Right. We were kind of joking about that this morning, and we're just kind of saying, hey, you rub-a-dub-dub, I'm the president, give me the electoral pen. I need to start.
Yeah, and you can't help
signing
but
some stuff
wonder.
off.
Exactly, and you can't help but wonder that. Oh, and by the way, right behind me right now, I'm going to turn a little bit, see if people can see down there. I'm going to open up my big screen so I can see what I'm showing. If you see down there on those giant crowds down there, about half of that is National Guard. So the National Guard is doing a phenomenal job today. A big shout out to them as well. But one can't help but wonder, if Trump has a 20-minute speech planned, how much of that is going to devolve into him, bantering with the crowd. And I would love to see Trump start instigating conflict with protesters in the middle of his inauguration speech.
Oh, can you imagine?
Get him out of here. Get him out of here. Hey, you there, points at the protesters in the back, because there are a lot of protesters out here today. A lot.
Well, we do have a detailed list of inaugural events for the day. I'm going to go ahead and read that off for our listeners. Today, the events began at about 8:30 a.m. Eastern at St. John's Church across from the White House. Trump and Pence families then attend a tea at the White House with the outgoing president and Michelle Obama before heading to the West Lawn at the U.S. Capitol. The swearing-in ceremony is expected to begin around 11 a.m. Eastern, with the inaugural address to follow. Trump will be sworn in with the Lincoln's Bible, the same one used to, at Obama's ceremonies, and he will also use his personal Bible. The families of the new president and vice president head to a congressional luncheon at the Capitol. What's on the menu? Steak, ice cream, lobster, and chocolate souffle, USA Today reports. Meanwhile, the Obamas fly to Joint Base Andrews, where Obama will say farewell to his staff before leaving Palm Springs, California. The inaugural parade begins around 3. More than 8,000 people will be led by Trump and Pence from the Capitol to the White House, according to Trump's presidential inaugural committee, which he has had a full list of participants, including members of the military, veterans groups, school bands, and Boy Scouts of America. And in the evening, President Trump, First Lady Melania Trump, is that
Melania?
Melania, Macrazia, whatever, Vice President Pence and Second Lady Karen Pence will attend the Liberty and Freedom Ball at the Washington Convention Center. And, talking into that, I'm just kind of curious about, first of all, I mean, we have more detailed events later coming up in the broadcast. But Melania, this is the first time in a while that we've had kind of a blended family coming into the White House. We have a divorcee who is Trump with a few wives. How do you think the inaugural festivities will incorporate Marla Maples and Ivana Trump? And what about Tiffany Trump and Barron Trump? What do you think is going to happen with that?
When you say Ivana, you're talking about his ex-wife, not his daughter Ivanka, right?
Right, exactly. Okay. Ivana is the mother of Tiffany, I believe.
Right. She's also the mother of she's the mother of Ivanka as well, and the two brothers.
Yep.
I believe the only son that Trump has, the only child Trump has with Melania is Barron.
Correct.
Now, it looks like Melania Trump is going to play a much more traditional role. In contrast to a Michelle Obama, she's probably going to be more of a Laura Bush. That's not a bad thing. That means that there are really two ways you can approach being first lady. You can be very active about it. You can push your staff to do different initiatives and endeavors. For example, with Michelle Obama, that was very much education. That was very much fitness and weight loss. That was very much eating healthy. And in fact, Michelle Obama's one of her greatest legacies of being first lady is getting the school lunches stuff passed. Now with Melania, I think she's going to be much more traditional. I have not heard anything about his ex-wives. I could be mistaken. They could be here. I would imagine maybe out of respect. I would imagine that they would be there out of respect for their children, because their children are so heavily involved in his administration. So one would imagine that his children would probably have his ex-wives there. Yeah. It looks like right now the members of Congress are starting to be seated. So we're not going to get Trump here for a little bit, but they are starting to actually broadcast on the Jumbotrons. Now, it looks like, let's see, right now it's 11:05 local time. We're looking at him speaking at about 12:05 in about an hour. I'm sorry, what was your question? Was the role of his ex-wives, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you. I know that there were supposed to be 4 inaugural balls. One of them has been shut down because there weren't enough people to attend.
Right.
Local publications here are calling this the smallest party in Washington, D.C. It looks like it's going to be far less numbers than that of Obama. If I was standing right here in 2009,
Mm-hmm.
it would be shoulder to shoulder
Right.
in contrast to how many people had filled for Obama at this point.
Obama had
So,
record-breaking attendees at his inaugural event.
exactly.
It was a little bit lower in 2012, but it was still really, really high. So it was something like 1.8,
Yeah.
something like that.
And to be fair to President-elect Trump, it is hard to, Obama had a very special circumstance. He was following 8 years of a conservative, administration that was surprisingly low approval numbers.
Right.
And also, he was the first African-American president. And there was something very special about that brought out people in droves. Now, that's not to say there's nothing historic about Donald Trump.
Oh, there's history.
Many things. There's many things. And as I reminded some of my colleagues this morning, I think a lot of people forget he is the oldest man to take the oath of office. The oldest person, 70 years old. So he will be the oldest elected president here in about 1 hour. They're now introducing the secretaries, and they're doing all the stuff where the announcer spokesman introduces them, and then they get to walk out and have their little introduction and feel special. So nothing noteworthy is happening right now in regard to that. It looks like the Lincoln Memorial has pretty big crowds going from it as well. It looks like they're still trying to take a lot of stuff down from the festivities last night. That's where I was last night when we did a very short broadcast. I was broadcasting from those festivities, which was difficult and dark, but we got a little bit out.
Yeah.
And that was the Toby Keith concert. Nothing screams America like a washed up country star. So, of which he was decent, I guess. He wasn't bad. Do we have any other questions?
Oh yeah, definitely. We have tons. I'm also curious about, Trump kind of came out halfway through the election process, and he was baptized, or he was,
Yes.
he claimed he was a Christian at this point.
Yes.
What do you think the clergy tone is going to be? He's gotten a rabbi and a priest, and obviously what the religions align what they represent don't really align with what Trump actions have portrayed. Yeah. So I'm pretty interested. What do you think that how they're going to kind of react to this, and what kind of spin they're going to put on it?
The religious community is very fickle when it comes to Donald Trump. Evangelical voters never wanted him in Midwestern states like Iowa. They never really appealed to him. In contrast, they were looking at people like Ted Cruz, people like what's his name, Scott Walker.
Yeah.
But in any case, at this point in our history, you cannot really be elected president and not be Christian, or at least tell people you are.
Right.
That's a weird reality of our nation right now, and that might change in the future. But I think it's in Trump's best interest, in order to hold on to the traditional conservative base that he struggles to hold on to sometimes, that he appease the evangelicals, that he make nice with the Catholics, and that's something he just has to do. So in regard to the tone here today,
but Kenny is the question. It's almost like he's shaking your hand, and also has two fingers behind his back, like haha, kind of a thing. So I'm curious if if the religious community is going to start to feel that as well.
One of the recurring themes here that I've talked to with many Trump protesters, because I have talked to many of them, it's important to me while I'm here to get ideas from Trump protesters, and Trump supporters and Trump protesters.
Yes.
Like I said earlier, I am in the general admission spot. My press credentials give me a little bit of leniency with people, and especially with law enforcement. But I'm not in a press box, and that's really great, because I walked by many of the press boxes today, and they're stuck. And I have the ability to go out and mingle with people, which is ideal. Now, the recurring theme I've been talking with a lot of Trump supporters is, do as I do, not as I say.
Mhm.
is that they firmly believe that Donald Trump is going to do what is in their best interest and do what they foresee as a positive thing for the future of the nation, even if he's not always saying that. There's a lot. I don't want to call it blind faith, but it kind of is. It is certainly people who feel that you can't trust what's coming out of his mouth. You just have to see what he's going to do. That actions speak louder than words. Now that's difficult because he speaks very loud, and
Right.
and now he also carries a tall stick.
Yes.
So yeah, it's a fascinating question. To get back to your original inquiry about whether the clergy is really going to be present, I have yet to see really anything religious that hasn't been a protest. I've certainly been yelled at as a heathen a couple times today. Those protests are south of the mall. They're having like the hardcore, like alt-right, you're going to hell and damnation protests, of which there's a great many. But
I do want to state here that this is the most protests at an inauguration ever.
Yes.
There's about 26 counted from last week, and it could be more. But as they were registered, and they're registered protesters. So these aren't people that are just coming out of their basements and saying, let's go protest. I mean, they have to register.
Though those people do exist. Those
Yes.
people do exist. One of the things that we have
those are the ones I'm
about
saying
here.
stay away from, Brett. Don't get in trouble.
Yeah, right.
But those are the people that will be removed because, I mean, the one part is that as a country, we have the right to protest. We have the right to have our voices heard. And, I feel that if you do it in a very organized way that, regardless of what's going on, things can be, moving forward and such like that. So for the nation, one thing I do want to say today, it's a hard day to swallow for some people. Some people, they're in their glory today. My bit of advice is to let's just stop hating each other and just see where we're at, because you never know. I mean, he could be the greatest president or he could be the worst president. And the thing is it comes down to us just, kind of sticking together and getting through day by day and making sure that we all kind of live together in this world. So, hopefully that can move forward. I have another question for you here.
Certainly. Just a heads up, I'm having a helicopter go over right now. It should be out of ear reach for you guys, but considering that this is a really big no-fly zone, that's either the Obamas or the Trumps.
Right.
So it looks like
Gotcha.
It's landing right over by the White House. Okay. Looks like it might be the Obamas.
Very good.
In any case, sorry, go on.
Oh, you're fine. I was just curious, what do you think? We've got a little bit of a strange interaction about to happen, because usually at an inaugural address and things like that, the new president-elect and the new inaugurated one will have to commingle with previous presidents and their wives. And guess who's going to be there? Our favorite,
the Hill Dog.
I know. And I don't know if anybody's thought of this, but how do you think he's going to react? Because we've seen him in a lot of these debates. He almost just kind of they didn't shake hands. They were just kind of like pit bulls against each other. What do you think the tone is going to be set for this whole weekend? Because I really do believe that if Trump messes this up, it's going to really irk a lot of people.
Well, now that you mentioned Hillary, it's funny because the Jumbotron directly to the right of me has the camera focused on her right now. So she's seated. She's seated and Bill is next to her. And it looks like George W. and Laura are next to them. And it looks like Carter and his wife are there as well. So the only ex-presidents that are not here, the only ex-president that is here is George H.W. He wrote a very nice letter to Trump, almost uncharacteristically, not to say that HW doesn't write nice letters, but simply because he was, he almost borderline opposed. He almost borderline endorsed Clinton and behind closed doors. He was very, very anti-Trump, as the Bush family essentially was as a whole. But he is not here for his health. Apparently, Barbara Bush's health is also very precarious right now. So, but in any case, he wrote a very nice letter to Trump. That was published online. He wished him the best of luck, told him why he couldn't be there. Clinton is here. Like I said, all the rest are here. And I think that they're going to be very cordial with one another. I think Clinton doesn't have much fight left in her. And I think Trump knows. I hope Trump knows he won. One thing with Trump is that he still seems to be campaigning.
Yeah.
When I can't remember, I think it was NPR asked him about his heroes yesterday or the day before, and he said he didn't have heroes. And then he started rambling on about his dad's influence in his life, which would allude to him having a hero in his dad. And then he started bagging on Clinton and essentially talking about how massively he won the election.
Well, and that's
again, he's talking like he's campaigning.
My biggest problem with all of this is that I just kind of want, us to move forward as a nation from the election. Part of the problem I feel is that, when we bring up an issue, whether it's the left, the center, or the right, and we bring up an issue, that it always comes back to, well, Hillary did it, or Hillary did this. And it's like, Hillary isn't involved anymore. You can use that all you want through the election. You can talk about Bernie Sanders. You can talk about Obama, whatever. We are in the
Bernie Sanders has popped up on the Jumbotrons. He is seated as well. He just got seated.
What am I must be psychic. But those types of things where it's just, we are in the here and now, people. It's now we need to talk about Donald Trump, and we don't, stop deflecting to what she did, what he said, what they said. It's over. And the left wants to get over that and say, okay, that's fine, but what's Trump going to do? And as soon as we ask, we get deflected right back to, well, Hillary Clinton this, and the emails and blah blah blah. It's to the point where I feel like, how are we going to get past that? So that way we can actually talk about the issues and see what's wrong, what's right, and how we can get things done.
Absolutely. Michelle Obama has just entered. Looks like the president soon to follow. But to answer your question, I think the best healing can be done by these presidents that we mentioned, not necessarily banding together, but remaining cordial with one another, right?
Right.
And I think Trump's going to do that. His tone toward Hillary Clinton did change post-election. He immediately dropped the, I'm going to hire a special prosecutor and send her to prison. He immediately dropped the email stuff, with the exception of his occasional banter. For the most part, he's backed down on her pretty heavily. And I hope he knows he won. And I keep saying that because sometimes it seems like he doesn't.
Right.
But I think the best step to healing is for everyone here right now to, I think you have to, I don't want to say you have to respect the president. I think because this president in particular has said stuff that a lot of it's stuff you don't want to respect. But you have to respect the presidential office. That's very important to sustaining our democracy. And that's something Barack Obama understands. That's something all these previous presidents understand. So I think what I've been telling liberals today is maybe you can just, respect him as much as he respects the office. Once he starts disrespecting that office within that office, then it's cause for concern. Because as the Trump supporters keep saying, let's see what he does, not what he says. And as of right now, we haven't really been able to see what he'll do. So that's a saving grace for a lot of liberals. And also, I was talking with Charlie Dean. He's been on our network a couple times. He's a very savvy political mind in Colorado. And he made the point to me that liberals might arguably be in the same position that Republicans were in 2014. That you look at 2014 and everyone was talking about how the Republicans were in disarray. Everybody was talking about how the Republicans were never going to get elected again, that they were losing every single midterm that they were running, that they had lost the presidency now twice in a row. And in reality, there was so much party infighting that within the Democrats that it actually caused the Democrats to lose the election. Now, we might see a turn. There might be party infighting with Trump because Trump can only do so much as president, and he still has to get Congress on his side. And a lot of Congress is not on his side. So we might very well see a Trump presidency that's in conflict with Congress, even though they're the same party. And at which point they, liberals are in a better position in 4 to 8 years.
Right. I agree.
So I do want to mention now, I'm going to hop off here shortly because I'm going to go down there and talk to people, get some hot takes. Well, a couple things. We have a bunch more questions to answer. I know we do because I've seen a bunch of them in our Slack. We're going to do our best to answer those on the next broadcast and then maybe the third broadcast as well. And then any overarching things we can address on our panel later tonight. Again, those times for everybody. We're going to be broadcasting again at 1 p.m. Eastern, so that's in a little less than 2 hours. And then we're going to be broadcasting at 3 p.m. Eastern, and then we're going to have our Blazing Caribou panel of statecraft live on our YouTube channel at 7 p.m. Eastern. All these times are here in Eastern because that's where we're broadcasting from. This evening, I will be in the Medill newsroom. They are hosting myself and my team to actually have an official safe newsroom to utilize. It looks like we might have some sort of politician up here. Okay. They're the only ones who can fly right now. So in any case, anyone can tweet us questions. Tweet them at Blazing Caribou. Tweet it to Rivers Rubin if you'd like to go directly to me, or just go straight to even Carrie.
Oh, we got our Twitter up, though. You can go to Statecraft Pod on Twitter.
Statecraft Pod.
Yep, you can do that as well. Or you can hit us up on our Facebook page, also Statecraft. Yeah, basically, you can kind of get us in a couple of places. But if you can't find us for whatever reason, because we are kind of new to this, you can just always hit us up on Blazing Caribou. So,
absolutely, because this is something that we're doing on the go right now. I was going to be here. I was going to be doing reporting, so we decided, to make this happen. I think this is a fun way to interact with the Blazing Caribou audience, get everybody more involved, and I can present us a take here from the ground that's a little bit different than, similar to what we did on election night, a little bit different than what you're going to be getting from your talking heads on CNN or Fox or anything like that. So you can check in periodically with us throughout the day, and that's going to be happening. One other thing I would mention, Joe Biden and President Obama have just entered. Okay, one final thing I would mention is on our second broadcast, we'll try to, you want to clear through a bunch of those questions that we have?
Oh, sure. We could do that, or we could do the inaugural quiz too, because that's
good
fun. Yeah.
Okay, well, maybe we'll clear out most of our congratulations, viewers. We're doing planning with you right now.
Yeah, you get to hear everything right here, live.
Exactly. So maybe what we'll do is we'll do most of our questions. We'll do a couple of them next broadcast, more of them on the third and final broadcast. And then we'll do the quiz here at 1 p.m.
Yeah, that sounds good. That works for me.
Carrie, I want to thank you so much for producing this and helping us, make this happen on that end. I am limited with what I can do here.
I am
greatly
limited
appreciated.
because I am me. So,
and also, a big shout out to everyone at Blazing Caribou who's helping us formulate questions, helping us create discussion. Thank you, everybody who's submitting questions. Big shout out to Phil Rude and Donna's last name, Hume.
Yep, Donna Hume.
Both of them, worked on such short notice to create such an awesome statecraft graphic, and that's so sincerely appreciated. We're going to keep this going for a pretty long podcast, hopefully. I have a lot of really fun ideas on how statecraft can progress into the new year. So until then, we'll see you guys again at 1 p.m.
All right. Thank you, Brett. We appreciate that. And we will see you soon. Good day.
Thanks, everybody.